advice from what's going on in the field. So it's going to be an exciting webinar, and we're very glad to have everyone on board. Just a couple things. All of the attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have a question as we progress through the webinar, please feel free to raise your hand, and I can unmute you, or you can post your questions in the chat box or question pane. So if you do have questions, if those arise, please raise your hand or post those questions, and we will take a moment and address those. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amy Julian, and I'm with the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support. Here with me today is Casey Anderson. He is our technology coordinator, and he will also be addressing your questions as you post those in. And our expert from Elgin Community College is Marcia Luptek, and she is the director for ESL programs at the college. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. ICSPS is a professional development center that creates, supports, and delivers professional development for career, technical, and adult education professionals across Illinois. We provide technical assistance, we develop publications, we worked on the CTE grant manual, develop publications, provide technical assistance, facilitate program improvement strategies, and again, one of our core missions is to assist with the recruitment and retention and transition of special population learners. If you have not visited our website, you will have a link for that at the end of this webinar, and I really encourage you to do so because there's a lot of great resources for assisting and supporting special population students. So when we talk about limited English proficient students, the Carl Perkins Vocational Education and Improvement Act of 2006 includes individuals with limited English proficiency to mean the following. And as I said, a lot of individuals in the field refer to these students as English as a second language, ESL students, or English language learners. It is one of those fun catechisms when you have different federal legislations defining the same population slightly differently, but with different acronyms, because we don't have enough of those in our educational world, do we? So when Perkins talks about limited English proficient, we mean individuals who are not born in the United States or whose native language is a language other than English. It can also be an individual who comes from environments where a language other than English is dominant. In addition, it can be an individual who are American Indian or Alaskan Native who come from an environment where the language is other than English and where they have had significant impact on their English language proficiency. And then kind of that capstone all-embracing bullet there is individuals who, by reasons thereof, have sufficient difficulty speaking, reading, writing, or understanding English, and that they may be denied the opportunity to learn successfully in classrooms where language of instruction is predominantly English or participate in society. So we're looking at any of those students who have limited English proficiency, which then would be or create a barrier for them in education. So one of the things that our center, the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support, has done is we have produced documents that are super strategies. If you have not seen these, we disseminated them at the forum. If you have not seen them, you can send me an email or icsps@illstu.edu an email with your mailing address, and we will send you out a packet. They are also available on our website to be downloaded. But one of the things that we're going to talk about is some of the strategies that we have looked at for supporting and recruiting LAP students into career technical courses. Again, everything in this packet, if you haven't seen it, I'm kind of biased, but I think it's just awesome because it is all evidence-based and research-based documents that talk about what are these strategies that we can do at the community colleges to better serve our students. So let's talk about a couple of those. The first one is to disseminate information in multiple languages using local papers, websites, student organizations with the presence of non-English speaking communities and all other avenues of communication used by the students. So or by the college. So basically looking at what is your college, how are you marketing information, and what else can you use to market that information? How can you recruit utilizing those local communities that you have? When you do have those marketing materials, it's also important to include pictures of diverse individuals in your recruitment materials. So not just having necessarily cookie-cutter models. A lot of the times we encourage colleges to use students in their marketing materials, which allows to really have a nice reflection of what that college program does represent. Our expert is going to talk a little bit more about recruitment strategies, so I'm going to shift here really quickly and talk about some retention strategies that are outlined in our document. Some of the retention strategies that we have are consider peer mentors and positive role models. It is so important for really all of the special populations, but especially for the English language learning students, to have somebody serve as a peer mentor or a positive role model to help them navigate the educational system. One of the things that a lot of the research has shown us is that there is a middle class common sense when it comes to higher education, and as a student who has an English language proficiency deficit, you would also have someone who possibly doesn't know how to navigate the system, and that mentor and positive role model can really assist with that. You want to ensure that your orientation to your college or your program adequately addresses the needs of LEP students. You want to also work with your faculty to be ensuring that they're teaching strategies that affirm cultural backgrounds and reinforce learners' strengths. And then support groups are always so important in retaining students, allowing them to have that space to really talk about the challenges that they're encountering, or what are the ways that they've learned to navigate the system, and be able to have that peer support group. We encourage you to have that facilitated by someone who is bilingual, because I think that will help, or we think the research shows that will help those students more understand the college community. A couple more retention strategies here. Provide training for faculty and staff on current immigration laws to ensure advisors understand the protection it provides and the limitations that it has as well. It is important when we're dealing with students that they understand that we want to ensure that all LEP students are included in career development activities and work-based learning options, such as community service, job shadowing, school-based enterprises, and youth apprenticeships, or paid work experience. So we want to be sure that we're aware of what those current immigration laws are, so we know where we can best place those students. We want to include local work values and appropriate behaviors in our transition services. LEP learners who are not familiar with the American culture and values and organization structure are often unaware of the range of post-secondary and career opportunities available to them. You not only want to provide the student, but also the parent or that support mechanism for that student with the information concerning career development processes, and identify ways in which the parents can help their student or child deal with these tasks. And then finally, create a safe space for LEP and undocumented students, and make that space physical so people in the community are aware that your institution is a safe space for those students. So those are just a couple strategies as we kind of launched into recruitment and retention. I do want to now hand it over to the expert, but I first would like to take an opportunity to see if anyone has any questions. Do we have any questions? If you'd like to raise your hand. Casey, are there any questions in the question pane?
There are no questions at this time.
All right, we will move forward then. As I said before, as we progress through the webinar, if there are questions or if you do have comments, please feel free to share. So I am very excited to introduce our expert today, Marcia Liptek. She is the Senior Director for English as a Second Language at Elgin Community College, and they have some fabulous things going on. So welcome, Marcia.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. We're going to just walk through a series of questions, and just kind of feel free to expand on any of these as you wish. So the first question, and we can kind of pair these together if you want to, is how do you market your ESL, ELL program to your community?
Okay, so we take a multi-pronged approach at Elgin Community College. We have found that there's not one size fits all for our community, for our students. So we tried different ways to communicate to different people. So one of the things that we do is we have direct mailings to all of the area residents. The president sends out a presence report and always includes something about the ESL classes in that, and that's distributed in English. And then we also have a Spanish newsletter that we send out to the Spanish-speaking households, and again has information about the ESL programs in there. So we have these direct mailings that are already going out from the college, and we're kind of leveraging off of those to try to reach some of the households maybe that read the articles. Another thing that we do is we do attend a lot of community events. We go to meetings of local organizations, giving days, backpack events. Now these Generally, I'll be honest, we don't get a lot of recruitment from this, but just getting the fact that our program exists out to the community and awareness to the community seems to be very impactful. People are more aware of the program. They then say, hey, I heard that ECC has an ESL program. That's helped a little bit with our recruitment. We do a lot of community outreach. We actually have staff that, for example, I will go out to the local schools and talk to the parents at parent programs at the schools. We have the high school students from the different programs in our area visit the campus, and we do a presentation for them. We've gone to, for example, Head Start agencies, youth leadership agencies, and again, anytime somebody says, would you be willing to present, we go out to get the information out to the community. Another strategy that we use is we do a kind of a door-to-door kind of strategy. We've created flyers that we distribute to local businesses and churches that they can put in as inserts. For example, we have a grocery store where we'll give them 100 flyers, and they put them in the bags at the grocery store as people check out. Or we have a couple of churches where we put an insert into their church bulletin that they allow us to put into there. We also coordinate with our APC to share information through the different partners in our APC. Another strategy that we've been using is a lot with technology. We've developed a listserv of people who have inquired in the past about ESL classes. It includes all of the contacts from the local K-12 schools. And we just make sure that every time we have registration going on that we send out information about our programs to these people, and that usually spurs a lot of questions from the community about what to do, where to go, so we found that fairly effective. We also have worked with our One Stop to get referrals from there. But I would say probably our strongest, most effective marketing tool has really been word of mouth from our students and the reputation that we have built in the community. Like I said, by going to these events and being seen everywhere, people are familiar and they start asking questions. They ask their neighbors, they talk to their friends, and they find out, oh, they're taking classes, and the students tell them that they're having a wonderful experience. And that has been our greatest marketing tool, is that our students say, hey, this is a great program. They talk to their neighbors, they talk to their friends, they go to their churches, and they share that information.
That is fantastic. And I don't think uncommon, having word of mouth being the most effective marketing tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have one student who actually has gone to just about every neighbor in her apartment complex and has driven them over here to help them register for classes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Talk about an advocate for the institution. So our next question, or pair of questions, is what support services do you have in place for your English language learners or your ESL students at Elgin Community College?
Okay, well, we have a very good support staff, either at our registration desk and as well as our just specialized in the ESL area. And anytime somebody comes up to us and starts saying, you know, I need help with childcare, I have an issue with transportation, I'm having this difficulty, we will sit down with them one-on-one and listen to them. And that's one of the things the students say that is great about our support staff, is that we actually listen to them, and then we try to find solutions to help them with their barriers or with their issues. We also, our faculty is fabulous. They have office hours where they're available to students to work with them if they need extra help, for example, with homework, or if they have any questions about something that's going on personally, they can talk to our faculty. We do workshops for our students. For example, we do a study skills workshop where students can just drop in and learn how to become better students. We also have workshops for Burlington English so that they can get into the Burlington English program. And again, just another support system for students who want to practice outside the classroom. We have an academic advisor that's specific to our adult education program, and she helps students who are transitioning to other programs. She talks to them about transcript evaluations, bridge classes, our ICAPS program. One thing that we used to have that we don't have right now because of the budget crisis is we used to have tutoring. But right now we're working with our local library and literacy program to try to get that back into the ESL program. We have tutoring for students who are taking college classes, but it was with the tutoring for ESL specific classes was cut, but we are looking for alternatives for that. Again, we have career services, financial aid, workforce transitions, the things that most of the colleges do have. And we also have a system to make referrals to outside agencies, our WIOA core partners, for example.
That's fantastic. So if I was a student at Elgin, how do I learn about all the support services? Or if I'm faculty, what steps do you take to educate your faculty about those support services?
Okay, so before students start to take classes at ECC, if they come up to the front desk and they ask us a question, we will present them with the resources that we have. But all of our students are required to go through what we call an ESL workshop, and we talk about those services at the workshop, so students are aware before they even register for classes that the services exist. We also, for the faculty, we will give that information to them at our departmental meetings. We'll have people come in from different resources to talk about what they do, and if we discover anything during the semester, we'll email that to them. And again, the faculty will share it with students. We actually have integrated some of this into our curriculum. We actually have modules where the faculty talk about community services and overcoming barriers in the classroom as well.
That's fantastic. I do want to give an opportunity at this time. Does anyone have a question? Are there any hands up? I don't see any hands up. Again, if you do have any questions for either ICSPS or Marcia, please let us know. So our next questions here for you, Marcia, are what would you describe as your most successful recruitment and retention strategy?
Okay, well, I talked a lot about recruitment, but with retention, that's the piece that we've really been working on as a program. We want to keep our students in the program longer and make sure that they're successful. And one of the things that we've done that we found is very successful is having the ESL workshop prior to students registering for classes. What it helps is it gives students an idea of what the expectations of the program are going to be regarding attendance, progress. We have students think about barriers and what are some things they can do to overcome them, what are some resources they have. We talk about life schedules and balancing work and responsibilities outside of the classroom, and is this a good time to take classes, and how can you work with time management. So a lot of that is done at the front end of it. So students have it's about 3 hours. So they have a chance to get all this information up front rather than saying afterwards, oh, you were supposed to come to class every day, or classes are from this time to this time. So there's nothing that's a surprise to the students. Some of the things that we've done also with retention is, the workshop is part of a multi-step registration process. So students don't just come in and register, take the test, and leave. They actually have to go through a series of steps, and we found that this gives the students a feeling of this being more serious. So when they enroll in classes, by the time they get to the end of the steps, they seem to be more like, okay, I'm really enrolling in school. It's not just a spur-of-the-moment decision. Other things that we do is, any time the student says that they need to drop out or drop a class, we always have one of our staff members talk to the student just to see what the issue is, see if there's anything we can do to help them continue with their classes. A lot of times there's nothing we can do if it's a work schedule change, but just trying to give the students some strategies of maybe how they can continue with their classes, and really listening to them, finding out what the real reason is for them not continuing. We do keep track of students who have poor attendance or who drop classes, just so that when they return we can again have a conversation and make sure that they've worked out any issues that they had in the past, so that they'll be more successful this next time. Other things we do is we've really told students we're setting higher expectations of our students. They're allowed to miss fewer days. We actually have a 3-day attendance policy versus the 5-day. They do sign-in sheets when they come to class, and by raising the expectations, we found that the students show up and they're ready to learn and they take it seriously. that they feel like they're learning something, and the high expectations of the curriculum have really increased the retention of the program.
That is fantastic. So, again, you've been doing this for a little bit of time, and you've discovered some great strategies, but were there ever any barriers or challenges that you encountered while serving your ESL students, and how did you overcome those, or would you like to share any of those with us?
Well, we've had, there's always barriers. I mean, we have our typical barriers, and then we have our atypical barriers. Obviously, this year, this past year, the budgets has been a big issue for all of the colleges.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to keep up with services with our students has been a challenge, but we've dedicated ourselves to try to maintain the level of service to our students, even in spite of the funding issues. One of the biggest barriers for our students is quite frequently employment issues. Many of our students have experienced lack of support from their employers, and we've had workshops and we've had classes of talking about how to talk to your boss, about taking classes. And we've also gone out to employers and saying, if you want your employees to improve their English, would you be willing to let them come to class? Would you be willing to not schedule them? So we're trying to do a two-pronged approach with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, oh, the students need to do this, but it's also, talking to the employers and saying, if you help a little bit on your end, it will help your worker be more efficient and more productive in the end. So that's a couple of them. Families always comes up, trying to help students be supportive if when they have family issues come up, and being understanding and not judging them. We have a child care service on campus, and helping the students work through the process of getting enrolled in child care if they have an issue. We also talk about getting family support, because that's very important in the success of students, talking to their families about taking classes and making sure that the families are supportive of them and understand why they have to go to class every night. Another barrier that we've had is, of course, with education. We have students who range from never having attended school all the way up through students who have their master's degree. And, trying to help those students that have that low or no educational background has been one of our biggest challenges. So that's why we started off with having the study skills workshops. We've talked about integrating soft skills into the classroom, and we tell our teachers, you have to tell your students, take out your notebooks, copy this down, and trying to help them learn how to be students. So it's one of the ways we've been dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, lack of resources and poverty are another issue that we've had to deal with. And again, trying to find resources, whether it's gas cards or bus schedules, or trying to figure out how we can help our students overcome this lack of resources. So those are just a few of the challenges.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like as much as we have the great strategies, we also have quite a few challenges in serving all of our students, and especially this population. So this is going to be my last opportunity to open up the floor. If anyone does have a comment or question for Marcia, please raise your hand or post your questions in the question pane. I'm not seeing any hands raised, so I want to thank you, Marcia, so much for coming on and sharing.
Well, thank you.
It's been fantastic. I've learned a lot, and I know that Elgin has a tremendous amount going on to support these students, and that's why you were selected as our expert for today. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with the state what's going on. There is more information for all of you and resources. Please visit us at icsps.illinoisstate.edu. That is our website. You will be able to find tons of resources on supporting special population students. The next webinar in this series, which is Super Strategies for Recruiting and Retaining Single Parents and Displaced Homemakers, is going to take place on Thursday, November 17th at 10 a.m. And again, if you are interested in this packet, this wonderful resource of super strategies that we have put together, please send me an email with your mailing information in there, and we'll get those mailed out to you. If you'd like to download those are available on our website, and I will be sending out the PowerPoint as well as the information on where to get those packets later on this afternoon. So with that, I don't see any additional questions, and I want to thank you all for your time. I want to thank you for attending and your attention, and I want to especially thank Marcia for taking time to present for us, because you did a phenomenal job. If anyone has any questions, we're always available as a resource, and thank you all, and have a great day.
All right, thanks, Amy.
Thank you.